So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And tonight we're talking to Conny Ochs. And he's a singer, songwriter, musician from Germany. And he's about to release a new album next week. And we're here to talk about it. So, first of all, Conny, how are you?
First, thanks for the invitation. I'm great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So I listened to your your latest album, but I also went back to listen to your old material. I listen a lot to Doom Folk from 2019, which I thought is pretty interesting because the way they describe your music is like it's like a folksy type of music, very minimalistic. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. And then I listened to your new album, which comes out on the 20th. And obviously, the main difference is this new album is in German, and and the other ones are in English. So the name of the album is Und Sinn. I don't know if if I butchered that.
More or less, more or less.
I tried my best. So I was looking at the translation for that, and it says that it's when and sense. But we were talking offline. You were telling me that it's hard to translate. So tell me a little bit about the name of the new album. What does it mean?
Yeah, I try that. We were talking about that a little bit before the interview started. It comes actually from one German word, which is Wahnsinn, and which as one word means madness, basically. But I took the two parts of the word, first one Wahn and the second one Sinn, and both of them, if you take the word apart, have a different sense. Wahn still means something, describes something like a sort of madness, craziness, also like a rage. Can be something negative, can be also something very psychedelic, like a psychedelic experience too, or just a sort of rage, something uncontrollable. And Sinn means actually sense, in the sense that it gives a meaning to something. And I find these two poles for the album it's very significant, because I talk about a lot about getting lost and about madness, actually, like mental illness, also, yeah, trying to find your place in the world. And on the other hand, there's always an underlying structure that I hope can give a hope and like a silver lining in all the crazy things that happen in one's life, in the actual life outside, but also in an entire lifespan. It's a lot about that, trying to find an anchor in madness that surrounds you. That's the main topic.
Makes total sense. So so when you last released Doom Folk in 2019, after that the pandemic happened, and I know that you also worked with another band where you did some other type of experimental music. When you were doing that, when it came back to record this follow-up to Doom Folk, did you always knew that you wanted to do an album in your German native language, or was it something that you hadn't planned?
No, I actually didn't plan that at all, but it's I rarely plan something like regarding albums. I always I try to work very with instinct. So I usually feel there's a certain time when I say, okay, I have to release something new, like a cathartic moment, and then I just follow what my feelings are at that moment. So it's not really planned. But in that special case, the German album had to do with the pandemic. When we had the lockdowns, I was in Italy, so we really had the very long lockdowns where we couldn't even go outside. And I started, because I couldn't do what I usually do, like go play everything else, I started to go through my old texts that I wrote when, like 20 years ago. I have a big pile of old notebooks. And I went through all these, and I had this idea to collect a few of those texts to release a book, which was something that I always wanted to do, just to show a bridge between my early work in German, like 20 years ago, and the transition into English. I thought this was somehow, as a storyline, it was really appealing to me. So I wanted to release that book, and then I was I got back so much into my old mother's tongue, like the German language, that I started to write songs there too. And first was just 2, 3, and then it became 8, 9 songs. I said, okay, this is too important for me to just keep it hidden in my garage. I have to release that somehow, because I felt that it's an important part of my songwriting. Like, even for what comes after, I had to dive into this German way of thinking again, way of dreaming too, and also in order to continue with my English stuff. I really needed that break in a way to find my way with my English songwriting. So I asked my label if they want to do it, and they said, yeah, that's cool. And so we just did it. It was very fast, actually. The process was not so fast, but in the end, the decision to release it was quite fast.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. And so when is the book? I know the album is going to be out on 20th. Will the book precede it, or when will the book finally be out? So, because I'm guessing it's like the music goes in hand with what's in the book. So when is the book going to be released?
They're gonna be released both together same day, 20th
simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think, like, can someone listen to the music without the book, or does the book give more insights into the lyrics and what the themes are in this album?
That's a good question. I never really thought about that in the beginning, because actually they're both different in the sense that it's different lyrics. Like, the book are texts from the years 2000 to 2010, which illustrate a trip and a transition that I made in these years, which I think is important to understand also what I did after, even if it was in English. It's like an important period of my life that is illustrated in the book. And maybe the album could be considered like the second chapter of that, like it's like the sequel of the book. But they both are talking very much about the same topics. Like I said before, it's a lot about trying to find your place in society and in art, and struggling with that, but trying to exploring niches, and yeah. And I had the same trip in 2000 when I started writing songs, and it's still the main theme I feel in my work. So yeah, it's pretty much a sequel, like first part and the second part. But I think I hope that it works well together. I'm curious about that, actually, what people are going to say about it.
Yeah, and it's something that's been done. I remember like a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, the Nicky Six from Motley Crue had like another band, 6 a.m., and they put out an album and a book too called The Heroin Diaries. So the book and the music went hand in hand. So it was pretty interesting. I remember buying that album and buying the book, and it was like you could understand more of the book or more of the album reading to the book. So since I don't speak German, I listened to the new album, but I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So
have you got
have I got the what?
Have you got the vinyl? Because there's the translations in the vinyl.
No, I don't have it. That's why I listen to it. Yeah, it sounds good, and I also listen to Doomfolk. So in Doomfolk, I understand exactly what you were talking about. So this new album, in terms of themes, what are some of the themes that you explore in it?
It's basically, it's always I think the German album is a little more about society. Doomfolk was very personal, like internal conflicts, and I think on the new album there are more reflections about society, like the positions you take in society, especially about times that we live in the bubbles. Like, everybody has to have an opinion, and people are have a really hard time to find the space to listen to other people's opinions. Like, this is something that makes me very anxious. The album talks a lot about anxiety in the end, like all my albums probably. But in the sense, the new album is different because I try to cooperate also opinions from other people, not only from my internal conflict, but and things that are happening in society. For instance, there's one song that's called Grimaces, which is about these people who speak up mostly in the internet and social media and try to control other people's opinions, who are playing them like marionettes, which is more or less what grimaces means. So these are new topics for me, because usually I write a lot about internal conflicts and my internal points of view.
So you were looking more outward on this album than inward.
Yeah, I try to do that, which is strange if you think about it, because I wrote all the songs when I was totally isolated during these first lockdowns in 2020 and early 2021. Maybe that's why, because I missed being outside, or society. I perceived society just through a screen, because I couldn't really go outside. Maybe that's why it became more important to me. I'm not sure, but it definitely is on the album. And there are also a few topics that, at least for me, if I write in German, that are always coming up, because the German, what do you say in English, imaginary, like the imaginative world, what you can create with the language, what you can illustrate with the language, is very romantic and melancholic, just based on the words.
This is the first time I've heard that the German language can be romantic.
Oh yes,
but you know why? That's because I listen a lot to Rammstein, and there's nothing romantic about that band.
Actually, it's not really my genre, but I remember I read a poetry book from the singer of Rammstein, actually, a few years back, and even though it's very violent, there's romanticism there too. It's there's this darkness and the longing for. It's a very big part even of the lyrics of Rammstein. I think the music is not very romantic, so that is takes it in a completely different part. But
they take it in a completely different way. So as we speak, I know that in Bandcamp people can already stream Melancholia, which I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's about being melancholic and sadness, because that's the word that I could understand. So so that would be the first official single of the album, right?
Actually, it's the second.
The second single.
That came out.
Which one was the first?
The first one is called Hickhack, which means, if you translate that, something like fracas. Is that a word that exists in English? Do you know that?
I have no idea.
Because I tried to Google that too, because it's difficult to translate. It's like struggle, like hickhack is like a conflict, a creative conflict, something like that. And we made a really cool video with my good friend Pietro Bondi, who's a photographer in Italy. And that was the first single. The video is out since 2 weeks, I think.
Okay, I'll post that one so people can see that music video. But they can stream now Melancholia. So I'm guessing that song's about sadness, being melancholic, and longing. Since what we're talking about, is it about longing to be outside?
It's about melancholia for me is about longing in general. It's more describes the feeling that you long for something that you can never reach. That is what the song is about. It's not longing for something real. It's longing for something that can also destroy you, almost like a junkie. Like you're addicted to a sort of craving something. There's a good Nine Inch Nails song, I don't remember the name, where he says something, I always want something I can never have.
Oh yeah, that's from it's called Something I Can Never Have, and it's from their first album.
It's that describes it really well. I still remember that song. Beautiful song too. And that describes the feeling pretty well too. What is melancholic or melancholia for me. And the song is about that. Like it's a very big internal conflict that, at least for me, is important. I have a hard time to balance that feeling. That's that's I write a lot about.
So now going forward in the future for you, do you want to continue like writing in English and German, or like will you combine the two languages in an album? or what do you think? Or was this just, did you do this one because it had to do with the stories that go with the book?
In the beginning, like I said before, I didn't even had the plan to release any of that. I just wrote the song and I thought I just released the book. But now it becomes part of my story somehow, every day a little bit more, and it becomes more important to me than I thought. Also the reactions, especially from the reactions from non-German speaking countries, which for me, I can understand that people have a hard time to get into that, because it's, yeah, you don't really get the lyrics. But the reactions are really interesting for me and inspiring. So my idea was to make the next album in English again. So this would be just one like a one-off thing. But now I don't know. Maybe I try to make a combination. I'm not sure. Like I'm still, like, it's very new to me. This period is changing a few of the ideas that I had. Gives me new ideas. Like there's great albums from Einstürzende Neubauten, for instance, where they mix German and English, or they just make separate songs. Like one is German, one is English. I don't know. Now actually I miss the English language again too, because I was thinking so much about this German thing. So now I have a new I want to write in English again, which is great. So I don't know. I still have till December to decide which language I'm gonna sing on the new album.
So for you, writing albums, for you, is it easier to write a song in English for you, or in German?
I thought until a certain point, like I started writing in German like many years ago, and then it changed. And for 10 years, for the last 10 years, it was a lot easier for me to write in English. And then I came to a certain point which overlapped with my study of my old German text, which I arrived at a point in English where I thought, I kind of said everything that I felt like that. I said everything that I wanted to say. I kind of had no new images in my head to describe. And at that point, it was easier for me to write in German. So that was just the thing to do. And now again, after this period, I have new ideas in English too. So one bounces off from the other. Like I said before, I try to follow the instinct a lot. So I couldn't really say what is easier. There's a time for both of it. Actually, I was thinking I would really like to write an album in Italian too, because I spent so much time here, but I'm still not good enough. So that has to wait a little bit.
No, well, you like to push yourself and be creative. So the album artwork, I read that for the other album artworks, you like to work on your own artwork. But for this one, you relied on this painting. I think it's by an Italian painter, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, it's by Abigail Salvesen. I hope I pronounced that right. And she is a Scottish illustrator, actually.
Okay. So it's a pretty cool painting. What are you trying to convey with this painting for people to see it?
I have to say I just saw this because usually I always did the artworks for the albums myself, and on this album I changed my whole setup. Like I changed the producer, I changed the musicians that I played with, I changed the musical style. I tried to push the boundaries to all sides. And when I was looking, I didn't really know what to do for the artwork. So I just found on the internet, I found this woman, great illustrator. And I found this image, and I just felt it describes exactly that, the way I felt when I made the album. I was actually listening to the album at the time to make the track list. And I didn't really think about what it means to me. It was just appealing, like immediately.
Okay. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, the colors and the palette. Yeah.
So now, if you ask me to reflect on that, I would say it just describes exactly that ambivalence between that kind of longing. It's a little bit like has this werewolf kind of werewolf theme to it, because there's this planetary thing, or the moon or the sun, whatever, and an animal which is in movement and you cannot really understand if it tries to escape from it or if it's enjoyable. And in the end, I think it's it symbolizes transformation for me in that sense, in that savageness that that the animal symbolizes for me. I see it as a
Makes sense.
transformative symbolism, and which works well with the idea of the album, I hope. In the end.
Oh yeah, and see, I was listening to the new album and to Doom Folk, and they sound very different. The tone it sounds totally different. Doom Folk is more like folky. This one has more like the sound. Obviously, the language is different, but also it had more like an modern electronic side to it, to some of the songs. How would you describe the change in sound? Obviously, you had different musicians from Doom Folk to the new album.
Yeah, there was something that I was looking forward, and I did. I don't know if you read it. And after I did Doom Folk, I had I founded a project which was called Trialogos, with two musicians from Berlin, and we also made a tour, and it's like a drone crowd instrumental project. And one of the players of that band is Tobias Vetake, also aka Sickerman, and he's a producer. And he's a longtime friend. We always wanted to do something together, so we did this project, which was really inspiring to me because it was the opposite of songwriting, like improvising music and playing drone music, which is totally different vibe. But I got along really well with him. So I asked him, okay, I have these new songs just on a guitar and a voice. I recorded them. And I say, okay, I send you my sketches and you throw away all the guitars, everything else that I recorded. You just keep the arrangements and the vocals, and you do your stuff, because I wanted to do something that is not a songwriter's album. I was looking to leave my comfort zone, so to say, as a songwriter. And so he did that. And he did the arrangements on the songs that I sang, and we gave it to Hannes Schäffler, who was the producer of the album. Also, he played his part here. He made the sound, and he made a few arrangement changes here and there. So it's basically these three people, and I tried to get as far away from the usual acoustic songwriting, analog recording as possible, because I felt kind of trapped in that songwriter genre, and I wanted to get out of that, because I was I couldn't really see the next step after Doom Folk, where to go. So I tried to be as radical as I could. In the end, I think, I don't know how people perceive it, but I think in the end it's probably still there's still songs, there's still guitars, but for me that was a big change, because I think I needed that to go back again to the analog classical songwriter structures, which now are again interesting to me after I did this.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
Basically, it's basically the other two people who I trust 100%. I said, okay, just feel free to interpret my songs the way you want.
No, yeah, no, makes sense. So what's next for Conny Ochs? You're now that once you release the album and the book, do you have like some shows planned?
Yeah, we just did the release shows in Germany for it, in my hometown and in Dresden, and they went really well, because it was also the first time I played the songs with the band. I was really curious how that works. And now I'm in touch with my label, and we are trying to figure out what we do. Like I said before, it was not really planned to make a big release, and touring was meant more like a small thing. But I like it, and I would like to at least play a few more shows for the album in Europe, and then see what I can do next year, because I'm actually already working on the new album. So the question is, if I do a tour, maybe to promote both, or if I do another tour in spring for just a German one. I have to wrap my head around that. It's a new thing for me that this has taken in its own life in a way, which is cool. But I still have to wrap my head around that.
Cool. So for the new album that you're working on, are you going to keep doing the sound that you're doing for this album, or are you gonna have a combination of everything that you've done so far?
I think I'm gonna go I started to make the first like a pre-production thing. I think I'm gonna go back to a much more analog sound, like with playing with people, and the electronics. I like it, but it's not really my own. Like I like to play. I like sweat and I like analog instruments. So I'm gonna record everything analog, and maybe I'm gonna invite Tobias, who made the album that I just released, and play on 2 or 3 tracks, something like that. Like maybe do a few songs together, but not a whole album like this. And there will also be an analog basis for the whole thing. I'm very much looking forward to play with people, actually, because the German album was because at the time, because of the lockdowns, we were working also through internet, like sending files back and forth before we could actually go to the studio. So it was in a way also a lonely process at some time. And now I really want to play with people. Like that's why I did the last shows with the band, and I would also carry that into the studio. And the first tracks we did, I actually did it with 2 friends. So I think I'm gonna try to push that a little bit more.
Makes sense that you want to work with people after doing an album that you have to do it's like by yourself, and sending files. It gets impersonal.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
It was very interesting in a way. It saved me too, because you had something to to focus on, and it was a good experience. But if I could even emphasize even more how important it is to play and to write with people, because that's just the feedback that you cannot give yourself. It's really important for a song.
So I'll put the link for the album. I know it's going to be released by Exile on Mainstream on the October 20th. So I'll put the pre-order link so people who want to pre-order that. And I'll also post the link to the last music video that you did so people can watch that music video. So what would you like to say to the fans of Conny Ochs, or people that don't know you, on anything like that you would like them to take away from this album?
I hope they can they find a new and interesting way to look at German lyrics, at the romanticism in German lyrics, like you said.
I will read them because I never thought that the German language was in that vein of romanticism, but I will read them so I can discover that.
Yeah, because that's something I wanted to say earlier on. Both the book and also the album are going to be released with the translations, so it's 2 languages. You still hear me?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. Because I had a weird switch. You were super fast and then super slow again. So yeah, I'm curious about what happens to the language, especially for people who don't speak German, like how they perceive it. And that's why I put the translations both in the book and on the album, to at least get the sense of what I'm saying. I hope for people who follow me, maybe who followed me before, that they can discover a new part of my journey, which also puts what I did before in a different light. At least for me, the new album does this. It's very cathartic for me. I can hope it can be cathartic also for the listener. And I would also like to say, because it's been really long time that I played, for instance, in the United States, that I hope they can still have a little bit of patience until I can come back there, because I would really like to come and play again there outside of Europe. But it's not easy with the booking, but I keep pushing for it.
Awesome. So Connie, I would like to thank you, for taking some time of your night to talk with me about the new album. So everyone, the new album by Conny Ochs, Und Sinn. I know I'm butchering it. It's coming out on October the 20th. So I'm gonna put the link for you to pre-order that. And I would recommend this to anyone that likes this one. It's less folky, but more like electronic, but with also it sounds like it's still like you. So I think it's very it sounds like a hopeful, like sometimes sad record, but yeah, if people who dig that vibe will enjoy this. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector.